Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Continuous Quality Improvement tutorial series, where we are going to cover important topics and answer frequently asked questions regarding implementing a CQI cycle at your club. My name is Rachel Keener. I'm a Director of Quality Improvement at BGCA. I worked with the YPQA and CQI at a club before coming to BGCA, and I am passionate about making these meaningful tools as accessible as possible to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Clark Hill. I am also a Director of Quality Improvement at BGCA. I have been working with CQI systems and the YPQA in various settings throughout the country. I am super excited to be able to share all of this information that we've been able to learn. Thank you so much for joining us. Now let's get started. The next session in our Continuous Quality Improvement series is Introduction to Staff Coaching. In this session, you will understand what staff need to stay engaged and understand how to utilize a practice-based coaching framework at your organization. We want to start off by thinking about staff engagement. And the reason for this is because staff engagement is the foundation for why we want to implement a coaching framework. Staff engagement is the extent to which people are personally involved in the success of a business. It is not the same thing as job satisfaction. You can be happy at your job, but not necessarily engaged. We want to make sure that our staff are actually truly bought in to the success of our clubs, right? The business that we do is the success of young people. So we want to make sure that the staff that we employ are actually personally involved in the success of those young people. This is different than job satisfaction or happiness on a job. That can be that I have a job that's super easy for me. I kind of get to roll in late, maybe leave early. I'm happy, but am I necessarily engaged? Am I giving everything that I've got to ensure the success of that business? Why does this matter? Well, a focus on staff engagement is going to provide high quality leadership. If your leaders are focused on ensuring that your staff are engaged, then that's going to be high quality leadership. It means they're coming at being a leader from the understanding of what their staff need. Additionally, this is just quality internal service. So as we think about quality service for our young people, we also want to think about quality service for our staff. Because the thing is, if we don't have happy and engaged staff, it's going to be less likely that we have happy and engaged youth. Staff engagement is also going to bring us enhanced people outcomes. So it leads to employee satisfaction, as mentioned before. That leads to an intent to stay. Your staff become more self-motivated to take on special projects. They become more productive within the tasks that you ask them to do. This is going to show a difference in your organizational outcomes. Your club experience is going to increase. Your staff turnover is going to decrease. Ultimately, you're going to spend less time and money hiring and training staff. So when we think about staff engagement, we need to think about the various elements that go into that. The value and purpose for a staff person is making sure that they understand what their value to the organization is and what their purpose is. Do your staff know what they bring to the table and also how their role fits into the broader organizational goals and specifically whatever quality improvement goals you have? You also need to make sure that you have clearly defined communication, organizational processes and procedures, and roles and work scopes. If there's confusion around how information is communicated, or what is the organizational process and procedure to get something done, or even what somebody's role or work scope is, you're not going to be able to be successful in your continuous quality improvement efforts. So you want to make sure that those things are front and center as you plan for your CQI processes. You also want to make sure that you're proactive about the relationship with the manager and colleagues. It's important that our staff person has a good relationship with their managers and their colleagues. This does not mean that they need to be best friends. But if there's true animosity on your team, your staff are less likely to be engaged, and you are far less likely to be productive. Also, you need to be thinking about what are true recognition and incentives for our staff. So we're a nonprofit. We often can't provide monetary recognition and incentives in the way that other organizations can. But there are other things that really make people feel recognized and provides incentives for them. So for example, for me, I love nothing more than to get a certification, a new certification that I can add to my resume. So if I do a good job, I'd really like to be recognized for that by being given an opportunity to get a new certification. This is going to incentivize me to be productive at my job. And then additionally, you need to make sure that you are actually, as an organization, invested in the personal growth and development of your staff. This will make them understand, again, all of the things that are laid out in front of you. If you are truly invested in the personal growth and development in each of your staff, they will see their value and purpose. They will understand how communication in the organization works. They're going to have a good relationship with you and their colleagues, and they're going to feel truly recognized and incentivized. So one of the ways that we can support staff engagement is through coaching. Coaching is a method of achieving set goals. A coach really helps a coachee to correctly set a goal and to find the best way to achieve that goal. So goal setting isn't something necessarily that comes natural to us, but we really actually need to understand the skill of goal setting in order to be successful. So a coach can really help us learn that information and then also figure out what the best way for us to achieve our goals is. A coach does this by asking questions so that a coachee finds the solutions to their own tasks. This is different than a supervisor. A supervisor might just tell a staff person what to do. But when we're shifting to becoming coaches, we want to think about how can we support our staff to find their solutions to their own problems and their own tasks. It's going to make our lives easier, and it's going to make staff more engaged. Now, when you think about coaching, you might think about life coaching. Well, we are going to talk about a framework of practice-based coaching. This actually uses components of various coaching techniques, such as executive, organizational, or performance coaching. It uses those components to build the skills within our staff and leaders to implement a practice-based coaching framework at their organization. Coaching is a powerful tool for staff engagement. Research conducted by Wilson Learning found that actually adding manager coaching to your learning system increased performance outcomes on average by an additional 23%. So what this is saying is that most learning systems within organizations include training sessions and then on-the-job training. Often coaching is not a specific framework that is utilized. Research has shown us, however, that if you add coaching to that learning system, so if you don't just have training, if you add coaching to it, you're going to see your staff increase their performance outcomes by around 23%. This is a huge number. And now that's just staff that aren't even actually trained in how to coach. When you put managers who are well trained, studies show that that can increase performance outcomes on average by an additional 41%. Now, these numbers should back up any additional resources that you need to put behind a coaching framework, because it's showing us we are going to be so much more successful in our outcomes that we are looking for, that it is worth the investment on the front end. The return on investment for coaching is very strong. So with that, we're going to dive into practice-based coaching. Practice-based coaching is a framework for how to think about coaching. So coaching can be based in individuals' desire for change, or an organization wanting to increase performance outcomes, as just mentioned. These can be the specific goals. Now, practice-based coaching, the specific goal is actually just to increase those quality youth development practices that we see in our staff. This is a really concrete way to provide coaching that is based on actual standards and indicators and not feelings and emotions. This is a great way for supervisors to become coaches for their staff. So what you're going to do in order to have a practice-based coaching framework is set up shared goals and action plans with your staff. do focused observations based on quality youth development practices, and then provide opportunities for your staff to reflect on their own performance and practices, and then give them feedback. Let's dig into these three components a little bit further. The first component is shared goals and action planning. You're going to want to set individual goals based on your club's overall improvement goals, and then create action plans to reach those goals. So if your club has an overall goal of increasing your emotional safety, what does your staff need to do in order to make progress on that goal? And then within their own goals, what is their actual action plan to reach those goals? So again, as we move into component 2 and think about focused observation, we really want to base our observations against the goals that our staff have set with us, that were set against the standards and indicators that we have all agreed to use. For example, if you are using the youth program quality assessment, and you have an overall goal of increasing emotional safety at your club, an individual staff goal might be to work on the indicator that is making sure that staff provide opportunities for youth to get to know each other, structured opportunities for youth to get to know each other. So the staff has this goal that's set against indicators in the youth program quality assessment. And so now you're going to go into the program and you're going to do a focused observation. Has the staff met their goals? Are they meeting the indicators and making improvements in the areas that were determined in component 1 of the coaching relationship? During this focused observation, you want to make sure that you record notes to guide the reflection and feedback session. So component 3 is facilitating reflection and providing feedback. The first part of this is really facilitating staff and reflecting on their own practice. It's important that staff are able to truly reflect on their own practice, or they won't be able to make true change. So you need to lead them in thinking about what really went well, really stick on that. It's often hard for folks in our field to focus on what went well, and then guide them through thinking about what they might change next time. Often these things are going to align with the feedback that you are going to provide anyway, which makes this coaching relationship built on trust and mutual respect. And it's going to be much easier for that staff person to meet your goals, to meet their goals. Great thing about practice-based coaching is it can actually be delivered in a couple of different methods. So you can provide coaches. Now this can be the supervisors, or it could be external coaches that come in, or just staff that aren't necessarily the supervisor of those folks, but are going to provide a coaching relationship. So this person can look be a variety of different people or roles. That person will come into the program space, as I just talked about, and really observe the activities. You're going to meet together. The coach and the staff will meet together to talk about those youth development practices. And then also the staff are going to meet in a work group with that coach to discuss their practice. Peer coaching looks like you have 2 staff that are peers, and you provide them the skills and competencies necessary to coach each other. So they'll go into each other's program space to watch the activities and actually provide the reflection and feedback sessions for each other. Additionally, you can use a self-coaching process. So if staff have all of the materials that they need to understand what an observation would look like, they can think about that observation as they go through their own practices. They can examine data to evaluate their progress. And this is an important component because this shows that even if we set a coaching mindset for individuals, we're going to see an increase. Staff are going to be able to examine their own practices in a way that they were not able to before. So we want to think about some specific coaching practices. What does a coach actually do to facilitate reflection and provide feedback? They actively listen, ask powerful questions, and check in. That piece about accountability, that's a big part of what a coach does. So when we're thinking about active listening, I think it's important to remind us what we're talking about. We all think that we're active listeners, but most of us actually aren't. So as a reminder, you want to make sure that you're making eye contact. Avoid distractions, especially in this world that we're in with cell phones and tablets and every other gadget and side activity going on. It's very important to focus on people, especially when we're in the coaching setting. Body gestures are important. The way you open yourself up or close yourself off or move your head, shake your head, etc., really tells the speaker whether or not you're listening, and also how you're judging what they're saying. Make sure that you give feedback as you're moving forward. Ask the speaker, the coachee, to kind of clarify what they're talking about. Lets them know that their point of view is valued. And then show that you're listening. Smile, nod. I facilitate quite a bit and do coaching, and it's really helpful when I have staff who show me that they're listening, that show me that they're engaged. It helps me engage right back. So active listening is really one of these key skills that a coach uses. The other key skill that I want to really point out is that of asking powerful questions. One of the most important skills a coach has is that of questions. Questions can really help move someone forward when they're stuck, create clarity, uncover next steps. But not all questions are created equal. So we need to think about powerful questions. Now, these are open-ended questions that are going to have specific characteristics. They're going to provide an opportunity to reflect. So questions like, can you tell me more about? Show the staff person you're listening to what they're saying. You need to make sure that your questions presume positive intents. Things like, what are you planning to do? Shows staff that you believe in their commitment to the goals. You want to hear from them. What are their next steps? The right questions can invoke a discovery, insight, commitment, or actions. Questions like, what would you do if? Help give staff insight into their own patterns, or can help to discover the next action. And then powerful questions can also create greater clarity and possibility of new learning. Questions like, help me understand what you mean by, can actually help your staff person clarify their own learning. Taking the ability to input new information and then actually synthesize it and communicate it clearly is the next step in learning. So these powerful questions are really going to allow staff to make their own progress. That's why I really highlight that powerful questions and active listening as two of the key skills that we need to think about as we enter into a coaching relationship. To learn more about coaching, you can always review the coaching resources on the improvement page of the CQItoolkit.org.